Stacks on deck in Portland. The Trailblazers traded Tim Quarterman to Houston for cash considerations on Wednesday, and there is the cash ready to get after it. Hey, welcome to SI Now. It's Thursday, June 29th. I am Maggie Gray, friend of the show, Aaron Nagler, co-hosting with me this week. Let's welcome in Rohan Nadkarni. He's a writer for The Crossover. We're still wrapping our brains around this Chris Paul to Houston trade. Does having Paul and James Harden in the backcourt, Rohan, make the Rockets a championship contender?
Championship contender maybe is a little bit strong. I do think people are really overthinking this trade. I've already seen so many people say, what about the fit? You know, I was texting with our colleague Andrew Sharp yesterday. Andrew told me he likes this trade more for the Clippers than the Rockets, which was shocking to me.
It's the Sam Decker inclusion.
Yeah. Wait, because he thinks it signals a rebuild for the Clippers? Why would he say that?
I think he just thinks, okay, they got enough back for Paul or whatever. To me, this is people are underestimating an upgrade that Chris Paul is over Patrick Beverley. I mean, you look at Beverley, yes, he's a great defender, a good shooter. We're talking Chris Paul, one of the greatest point guards of all time, someone who for stretches of the league last year, even with Russell Westbrook, even with Stephen Curry, was at times the best point guard in the NBA. So I think the Rockets are making a great deal here. In terms of championship contender, they still need at least one more guy, one more star, but they're on their way.
Well, to that end, Morey, the general manager, said the NBA is a weapons race and said you're either in the weapons race or you're on the sideline. Clearly, he's in the race. Who else can they look at? I mean, he has stated outright they want to take down the Warriors. And to do that, they're going to need a few more pieces.
First of all, shout out to my fellow Northwestern alum, Daryl Morey. I love that he's going for it. I really do love that he's
Wednesdays
going for it.
with Morey.
Yes.
Yesterday made 6 trades in a day.
You do like to see that, though, that he's going for it
too many
rather
teams,
than I'm going to wait for their window to close and then get after it.
Too many teams are worried about waiting out the Warriors. So I think the obvious name for the Rockets right now is Paul George. Do they have the assets to get him? I'm not sure. Are they willing to dangle someone like Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson? Is it going to be a 3-team trade? I'm not totally sure what their plan is there, but there have been multiple reports that they're going after Paul George. There's also the idea, Carmelo Anthony's out there. Again, do the Rockets have the right pieces to send the Knicks for Carmelo Anthony? A lot of people are also saying, would Melo be good on that team? If your third option is Carmelo Anthony, I mean, there's a lot worse you can do than that. So I think that would be a good addition for them too, frankly.
My question with Daryl Morey, we know that he moves pieces around and he's a guy who likes to take a risk. He's got a good owner there, Leslie Alexander, in terms of someone who gives him that long rope and also the money to do things like that. But I guess I'm just curious if they would deal assets, real assets, for a 1-year rental in Paul George. I mean, George has told everyone, I want to go to the Lakers. That's where I want to be.
I honestly think it's worth the risk. So it's interesting right now. They acquired Chris Paul's bird rights in this move with the Clippers, so they can theoretically sign him to a 5-year deal next summer. There hasn't really been any reports that they have that handshake deal in agreement. It's possible the Rockets are looking at this as a 1-year experiment. Maybe they bring in George too and see how it goes for 1 year, and they can kind of reload again next summer. In terms of trading away real assets, I mean, Houston's done a good job of kind of managing their cap sheet and stuff like that. So in that sense, I think Paul would maybe make sense as a 1-year rental, only because then you make yourself a player again in the 2018 free agency class. So I think it's worth it. And I think the Lakers, the reason why they're in these trade talks with the Pacers, teams probably think they have a chance if they can bring Paul George in, prove to them they're a title contender, maybe they can re-sign him. So I think he's going to LA, but I think there's a little more wiggle room there.
I'm just curious about other times when franchises have tried to go all in on one season. The Brooklyn Nets come to mind when Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett came there. Obviously a little bit more than a season, but went all in. Obviously the Lakers, when they brought over Gary Payton and Karl Malone, got close but couldn't get it done. Wonder if that's a good use of your resources.
The Nets thing, no one thought that was going to work.
Literally
except Sports Illustrated.
And Billy King. All right, there's a report from ESPN, and this goes back to the Clippers because they still have a lot of decisions to make. But this is a pretty damaging one. It's a report that the relationship between Chris Paul and Doc Rivers deteriorated so quickly because Doc's preferential treatment for his son, Austin Rivers. Rohan, would this prevent other free agents from wanting to go to LA and play for Doc?
I don't think it will prevent other free agents. I do think that, what happened with the Clippers, there was a healthy amount of egos there between Blake, Chris, and Doc. I think the biggest issue there was making Doc GM. I mean, he was a terrible general manager, not just Austin Rivers, but he was never able to fill out that bench. I think the best thing the Clippers have done is bringing in Jerry West, who's one of the most respected people across the league. I think that's going to help them immensely in terms of bringing in free agents. Ballmer has made, some questionable decisions off the court in terms of the people he's brought into the organization. I think there's been, kind of a growing adjustment period for him as well. Having said that, it's still Los Angeles. Bombers willing to pay whatever. They're going to have a ton of cap room next year. Doc, as a coach, I think is still fairly loved by a lot of people. As long as he's not general manager, I think the Clippers will still have a good chance of bringing in free agents.
All right, with free agency set to kick off this weekend, let's play a little matchup game here. I'm going to throw some names at you. Give me their landing spots. We'll start with Blake Griffin.
So I'm just going to tell you where I think they should sign. For Blake, I think the best landing spot for him is actually Miami. Now, they have like a huge hole at power forward. I mean, they could bring back James Johnson. I just think that, the pick and roll with Goran Dragic, the Heat finished 30-11 in their last 41 games last season. You see this kind of arms race loading up in the West, then, maybe moving east is kind of the best play for someone like Blake Griffin. So I think Miami would be actually a really good landing spot for him.
What about Gordon Hayward?
So I think he makes the most sense on the Celtics. And for a couple reasons, not just in the short term, in terms of then trying to make the next step in the Eastern Conference. You look at the Celtics next year, Avery Bradley's contract is up, Isaiah Thomas's contract is up. They won't have these assets forever. Hayward can kind of be that bridge to the next iteration of what this team is going to be. He can be the kind of star that takes them, the next 3 or 4 years. Are they going to want to give Isaiah Thomas $200 million? I'm not really sure. So I think Hayward is the best long-term move for them, not just for next season.
I think dark horse things are, I think they're going to extend Isaiah Thomas with a team-ish friendly deal this summer. Okay, keep going.
Paul Millsap.
Paul Millsap, that's a tough one. I think the Spurs may try to get in on Paul Millsap at this point. They kind of lost out on Chris Paul, who is their big fish target. They're going to have to move, either Tony Parker, Danny Green, or Marcus Aldridge. Most likely 2 of them to sign a big free agent like that. But I think Millsap's probably their, he'd be great in San Antonio. I think he can kind of be their Draymond answer. I'm not saying he's going to stop Draymond Green, but he'll kind of help them downsize a little bit.
All right, last one. What about Kyle Lowry?
Kyle Lowry, this is tough. I know the Wolves are probably going to look at him. I actually like George Hill better for the Wolves. I think Kyle Lowry should actually re-sign with Toronto. I think that's his best bet. He's the best player on that team. He's better than DeMar DeRozan. I think he's endeared himself to that fan base. He's been inconsistent in the playoffs. I'm really curious if he's going to get a max deal, but I think Toronto, he should actually stay with the Raptors.
Very interesting. Of course, we are streaming on Facebook Live. So what do you think of those matches? What do you think of Blake Griffin going to Miami? That's such a Pat Riley move. They got to make a splash.
I just think it's a smart. The idea of getting out of the West, I think, makes a ton of sense.
Well, he's got to stay healthy, too. All right, Klay Thompson's victory lap, guys. It's gone worldwide. Thompson has been in full effect in China. Of course, his shoe deal, not with Nike or Adidas, but with Chinese company Anta. So first, Klay took his skills to the court. Watch this.
来，我们队长来点掌声鼓励一下，好不好？
Then he took it to the club. All right, is Klay Thompson a better dancer or better dunker? By the way, I love this song. I love that song. It's my favorite.
Honestly, I don't really have an issue with his dance moves. I feel like I've seen that in many clubs in my day. Obviously, I'm there all the time, as you can tell.
Miami guy.
Yeah, his dance moves are fine. Listen, he's having a good time. I obviously got a great laugh of his dance moves. Having said that, let the man live. It's the offseason. He's a champion. He's having a good time. I don't see what the big deal is here.
Yeah, it's not exactly Mark Madsen up there. I mean, he's got rhythm. He's
got a little bit of rhythm, yeah.
The dunking, though, I was a little concerned for him. He took a pretty hard spill on the second one.
Is he a better dunker or dancer? I'll say he's a better three-point shooter. That's where I'll fall on that one.
All right, we, of course, are on Facebook Live, so, of course, comment and, leave us a thought on your Klay Thompson, assessment, better dancer, better dunker. Wednesday, well, we'll get to the Knicks in just one moment. We should get to some other headlines while Rohan is here with us. And one of those is actually something that's pretty serious. MLB umpire John Tumpane was recounting his encounter on Roberto Clemente Bridge. You guys have to watch this. It turned into something pretty harrowing, and Tumpane was a hero. Watch.
And we got her back on this side, and after she came back on this side, I went up to her because she said, "You'll just forget me after this," and I said, "No, I'll never forget you. This was an unbelievable day, and I'm glad to say that she can have another day with us, and glad I was in the right place at the right time." And
unbelievable. He was in the right place at the right time. A woman was going to jump off of Roberto Clemente Bridge in Pittsburgh on Wednesday. Now, usually when umpires are in the news, it's because they blew a call. This time, it's because he is an absolute hero. Aaron, what'd you think of the story?
It's pretty incredible. I got to say, though, the first thing I thought of was that scene from The Incredibles where the guy sues Mr. Incredible for saving his life. It's absolutely incredible to me that this is getting blown up to this level. Incredible in the sense that, like, in this world of where if it bleeds, it leads, we're actually, covering and exalting this guy for, obviously has nothing to do with his job, and for being a humanitarian and doing something wonderful. It's great. It's just so refreshing. Anytime you're online, anytime you're kind of reading headlines these days, you're inundated with negativity and the downward spiral of humanity. So to see this, it's great. It's something I can share with my daughters and say, look, someone who did the right thing, who was in the right spot and didn't think about himself or the consequences and really went to someone's aid.
Yeah, just the idea that, someone who's a complete stranger to this woman could do something so, profound and kind. I think it's really just a great example of, what you can do, the power you have just as an individual to help someone like that. I mean, I would hope that, if anyone was in that situation and saw something like that, at least this would maybe inspire them. You can say something, you can step up to help someone. So it's really beautiful.
Well, this is the time of year when NFL coaches hold their collective breath and hope to get through the summer without their players doing anything stupid or embarrassing during the summer break prior to the start of training camps. But last night, it was an NFL owner who brought embarrassment on himself and the league with a photo of a naked woman appearing on the verified Twitter account of Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay. According to the New York Daily News, the tweet was deleted 12 minutes after it was posted. This comes after Irsay claimed earlier this month that his account had been hacked. Now, there's been no word from Irsay or the team claiming this latest episode was the result of a hack, though signs do point in that direction. With that said, it's hard to ignore how Irsay is yet again in the headlines for something untoward. Don't forget that Irsay was forced to give up daily control of the Colts franchise to his daughter, Carly Irsay Gordon, while he was in treatment following his drug-related arrest back in 2014. Now, Maggie, is it fair to ask if his fellow NFL owners may soon get tired of Irsay's antics, putting the league in a bad light?
Yeah, let's not forget the 6-game suspension that he received along with a fine when he was charged with driving under the influence not too long ago. Listen, I feel in some ways bad for Jim Irsay. It's clear that he has dealt with issues of substance abuse for a very long time. And, for that and to that end, I hope he gets help. But if this was a player, I think that we would be skewering them. If they had a laundry list of things that put the NFL in a bad light, we would call them all the names: troublemakers, distractions, all of those things. So I don't think that Jim Irsay should get a pass just because he is an owner. I mean, he is representing an NFL franchise. Peyton Manning was the face for a long time. He's gone. Andrew Luck is there, and that's great, and he is. But Irsay keeps putting himself into these situations, and I think he just has to get some help for now. I think this reflects very poorly on the NFL. Rohan?
Yeah, if we can just remove it from the substance abuse issues and stuff like that for a second, I think this is hilarious. I think this is, I kind of wish, we would skewer a player. I kind of wish we never did. This is maybe the dude was sexting someone. I don't know. He got mixed up. Maybe.
Clearly.
Yeah. I'm just saying, whatever happens,
he messed up his Twitter app with his text.
Listen, he's not hurting anyone. He could have been. Perhaps. So I mean,
he's harming the youth of Indiana who are up late at night following the owner of the Colts on Twitter.
I mean, at least he didn't post it during the day or something. I don't know. It's just.
Whenever it was after hours.
Whenever something like this happens, I guess my point is it's very hard for me to take it seriously. And obviously with Irsay, the situation is a lot different because
that's
he has
the thing. There's a history there.
There's that history of substance abuse, but maybe
I will say this: what your response draws into relief for me is the difference between NBA media and NFL media. Because in the NFL, it's so serious.
Nothing is fun in the NFL anymore.
Nothing's funny. Nothing's
If J.R. Smith did this, it would be awesome. We'd be cheering
J.R. Smith
him.
has done something like this. It was just the woman's picture from behind instead of the full frontal.
And we cheered him for it.
I'll say this, though, but isn't that the NFL's own fault?
Yes.
I mean, they were the ones who started to take themselves so seriously. And not that the NBA doesn't take itself seriously, but there is this sort of feeling around the NFL that it is very serious and nothing is fun about this
I'll
league.
never forget a couple years ago on opening kickoff weekend, they were I don't remember what game it was, but I had the game on in the afternoon, and my daughter, who's now 16, was then 14 or so. She, they have the troops out there, and they have the flag, and they have the flyover, and there's this weighty voiceover, etc. And my daughter just comes in the room. She's not interested in football at all, but she watches a little bit, and she goes, "Dad, why does the NFL always treat their games like they're curing cancer?" And in the moment, I just kind of laughed it off. It was no big thing. But later on, I thought about it. It's like, to your point, they do take everything and they present themselves. It's so serious. And I think the NBA does a great job of, it's sports. It's supposed to be fun.
Right. But the thing is, then you can't have it both ways, because now if if you're an owner or if you're a fellow owner and you want to laugh off Jim Irsay posting a photo of a woman's naked body, then now it can't be fun.
Yeah.
If nothing else was before, and if players, they have this, the personal
switch.
conduct policy, which, listen, I'm in favor for. If they want it, if they're going to sign off for it on their collective bargaining agreements, then that's fine. But you can't have it both ways. You can't be smart and dumb at the same time. I think that what is good for the players has to be good for the owners,
well,
too.
that's where I am in total agreement, because remember when Irsay got the $500,000 fine or whatever it was, players around the league were pissed. I mean, because look, these guys are so scrutinized, and their fines are like through the roof and ridiculous, and they miss games and game checks, and then Irsay, comparative to his wealth, gets a slap on the wrist. I mean, I think that dichotomy more than anything is where the players probably are giving a little bit of a side eye.
Yeah, very interesting. We see you guys commenting on Facebook Live, so thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Rohan, thank you for being here. Always love your input.
Anytime. Thank you guys for having me.
And stick around to watch this video, because on Wednesday, it was like a holiday in New York City. It turns out nothing brings Knicks fans together like a mutual disdain for Phil Jackson and James Dolan. Watch this.
We don't have to do trigonometry anymore. We could play some basketball. We don't have to worry about triangles and squares and circles.
It's a beautiful day out. Phil Jackson's gone. His heart wasn't here. I'm so glad he's out.
Couldn't have happened any sooner. It's ridiculous.
Sometimes you have to get rid of the old to bring in the new.
I'm going to throw my own Tinker Tape parade at home that he's gone.
Get rid of the triangle.
Triangle, triangle, triangle. You got to play the game with the players that you have.
The constant bickering with Carmelo Anthony and stuff back and forth.
It was worse than the Odd Couple.
Joakim Noah was a terrible contract that we're probably stuck with for the next 3 years.
Phil Jackson's heart was not here. Somewhere in L.A.
Like throwing $60 million away.
If I were him, I'd take the money also. So I can't blame him there, but I think he was here for the money.
A quarter of Donnie Walsh would be better than Phil Jackson.
James Dolan, we've been stuck with him. We haven't seen any success from him.
Today, he did what he had to do.
We're in New York. We want to see results. We don't want to see any more losing and losing and losing. We don't lose. We're New Yorkers. We win.
My next guest won a silver medal in freestyle skiing in the Sochi Olympics in 2014. He is a six-time world champion who is also the first openly gay action sports athlete. Gus Kenworthy is here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We got to start with the ESPN body issue.
Okay.
This photo was really phenomenal. You are posing with just a ski. What was it like to see those photos?
I haven't actually seen all of the photos like fully touched up and everything, but I got to see them on the monitor during the shoot, and I was happy with how they were coming out. And it's really an honor to be a part of that, so it was exciting.
Listen, you work hard for the body, but were you self-conscious at all?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I am always self-conscious. I think ever since I was a kid, and probably a lot to do with being gay and just feeling different insecurities because of that and everything. I think I've always just been a little bit insecure. And I think in a lot of ways I'm really proud of my body, and like it does everything I needed to do for my sport, and I work hard and I train it hard. But it's also like I'm gay, and I feel like there's a huge emphasis on body and physique, and so I get insecure. I mean, I go to the gym and I feel like people expect me to have this crazy body because I'm an Olympian, and there's like all these random guys at the gym with so much better bodies in my opinion, and so I'm just like, I'm insecure.
You have the perfect body for your sport. And obviously strength comes in a lot of different shapes and sizes. You know, this Olympics will be very different for you because you are out of the closet now. Are you a better skier because now you're full truth and you can just be yourself? Has it impacted your athletic achievements?
Well, I think it's definitely actually affected my athletic achievements. And I don't think that I'm a better skier because of it, but I think that I'm a better person because of it, and I think I'm a better competitor because of it. I think I just have one less thing on the back of my mind. And now I feel like just being able to be myself and be authentic, there's so much more of just like a melting pot going on in my head that I can still focus, but it's easier to tune everything out because I don't have to keep it all categorized.
When you were receiving the Human Rights Campaign Visibility Award, you gave this great speech, and in it you said one of the toughest things for you was the fear of being outed. I imagine a lot of athletes would go through that. Have you spoken with other athletes who have either come out or maybe are still closeted about what that fear is like?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I think that it's something that definitely bonds me with a lot of people that are in that position, and I have had people come out to me, and some of them are still in the closet, and I think that it's a scary thing, and I think that they can trust that I would never say their name, obviously, because I've dealt with that and I've had that same thing, but that's like a very real fear. And I think the issue with that is it's so personal that everyone wants to be able to kind of come out and come to terms with that on their own terms, not on anybody else's terms, not through the grapevine, through gossip. They want to kind of be able to make that announcement when they're ready and they feel safe and comfortable. So that was definitely a fear for me, and I think it's a fear for a lot of closeted athletes.
Yeah, I can understand that. You've been very outspoken politically, obviously not in favor of the current president who's in the White House. Is it different now to be representing the United States, which means a lot of things, but do you think it will feel differently knowing just how deeply you disagree with the current administration?
I think it will kind of mean something different, and I think that, I mean, I'll be representing my country, and I'm so proud to be doing that, and I think that there are a lot of people in the country that are in opposition of the current political situation, and I think that my LGBT community, for the most part, is against it, and I feel like I'll be representing my country and I'll be representing that community, and I feel like the LGBT community is so near and dear to me that, I mean, that's kind of more who I'm trying to stand up for. And I don't know, I think it'll be different. I mean, I'm still very proud to be an American, and I'm excited to compete for the US. And I know that we will get asked to go to the White House afterwards, and I don't know if I'll do it because I got to do it last time and I met Obama and it was an amazing experience, and I think I'll leave it there.
Yeah, so you think that if you get invited, you'd probably decline?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Why, though?
Just because I don't support what they're doing in the White House right now. I don't support having people that are put in office that believe in conversion therapy and don't stand for LGBT rights and don't stand for minorities. And rather than going there and shaking hands and feigning kindness, I would rather just kind of let it be known that I don't agree with that.
You went to Russia before. There was some tension that were floating in the air. We're having a similar experience now with South Korea and Pyeongchang. Any reservations about going to that area of the world?
Well, it's just interesting. It's just sort of funny to see these different host countries meant to be hosting the biggest event in the world for sports, and it's kind of a culmination of all these different countries and athletes from all over the world coming together and getting to participate in sport, and sport's kind of one of those things like music that just brings people together. But it's hard when it's in these kind of oppressive places like Russia, and they had all their anti-LGBT legislature in place, and they were killing stray dogs, and there was so many things going on that I was like, this seems sort of unfit for this like almost like world peace moment that we're supposed to be having right now for the Olympics. And I guess I'm nervous about the games in South Korea, but I think that South Korean people are wonderful, and I think it's going to be a really great event, and hopefully nothing gets in the way of that.
I don't mean to add more pressure on here, especially as we're sitting here in June, it's Pride Month, all these great things are going on, but getting the silver medal. I mean, now, how much do you feel like your sights are just set on gold? Not that they weren't before, but you had the taste. Does it change anything for you?
It's so weird. I think that so many Olympians would be like, all I want is Olympic gold, and I'm not satisfied until I get it. And for me, I'm kind of like, I don't feel like silver was a letdown at all. One of my best friends in the whole world is the guy that won the gold medal, and he had a really hard road to Sochi. His dad passed away just before it. He secured the last spot. He had a lot of things working against him, and I wouldn't have wanted it to go any other way. I was so happy to see him land that run. It was like the culmination of his career. He hadn't ever had a run that was that perfect and clean and everything, and to put it down then in that moment, I was kind of just blown away. So I am ecstatic for him, and I feel great about the silver medal, great about the sweep. I would love to get a medal in halfpipe, the other discipline that I compete in, because I've got the slopestyle one now, and yeah, I think that's kind of what my sights are set on.
I think that's fantastic. And no, it is not a failure to get a silver. It is
No,
something
no,
that
I wasn't thinking you were saying that.
0.001% of people in this world will ever even get to feel. Gus, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Wishing you all the best moving
Appreciate it.
forward.
Thank you.
And we close today with a story from the country of Lebanon. It's a story of hope in the face of hurt, where sport becomes solace and washes pain away. It's a story about a 16-year-old Syrian boy, and it comes to us from the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees.
جربت أول موجة إنه وقفت كان شعور حلو.
Ali Qasim's surfing journey is no ordinary story. How could it be, considering Ali is a Syrian refugee from landlocked Aleppo, and until last year, he didn't know how to swim.
بس لأجيت على لبنان كان أول مرة بشوف البحر. صرت شوفهم كيف عم بيعملوا سيرفينج وهيك. مرة ثاقبت شفت فوم إنه حاولت أعملها كسيرف بورد. قطعتها وقصيتها وسويتها انه صار شكلها كسيرف بورد وهيك. تحمست لانزل فيها على المي جرب. كان بحر شوي كبير. اول ما نزلت عيط لي علي واحمد قالوا لي شو عم تعمل ما بتخاف تغرق وهيك. قلت لهم لا بدي جرب.
He wanted to surf. That's what he wanted to do. And no one could take it away from him because he shaped his own board. And he was ready to do it without a wetsuit. So he really, really wanted it.
Surf Lebanon helped Ali, giving him a wetsuit and a board. The club also trained him. Ali lost his brother in the war. After that, his family decided to flee to neighboring Lebanon, where about 1 million refugees currently live. The beach has become Ali's refuge. The surfers have become his second family.
هلا علي واحمد مثل اخواتي الكبار يعني اكثر بحبوني كثير. بس لعمل سيرفينج عن جد بنسى كل شيء. ما بفكر بشيء ابدا. انه بحس اذا كنت جاي عم فكر بشيء بس انزل على المي بنساه، خلص ما بقى بفكر فيه. هلا السيرفينج غير كل شيء. انه كل شيء غير بحياتي.
At just 16, Ali dreams big. He wants to become a professional surfer and champion. And when he can go back, he wants to open a surfing school in Syria.